Meghan Markle, the Petty Princess. The Rise and Fall. Welcome to Meghan Markle, the Petty Princess, a snarky deep dive into how the Duchess of Sussex went from a royal icon to a struggling influencer in real time. We're breaking this into acts, so grab your tea, perhaps with a dash of Meghan's organic jam, and let's spill it. Our leading lady recently stood on stage at the 2025 Time100 summit and declared, "I'm the happiest I've ever been." Yes, with a straight face, Meghan gushed about her supportive husband and healthy and happy kids, saying she never imagined at this point, "I would feel so happy and grateful, and I really do." A heartwarming confession? Sure. Except it comes at a moment when her carefully crafted brand empire seems to be crumbling around her. Talk about ironic timing. Meghan might believe she's living her best life, but the public narrative tells a different story. In the past few months, she has launched a flurry of projects. A Netflix show, a new lifestyle brand, and a podcast, all framed around one central theme: Meghan herself. Each venture has been hyped as proof that she's a serious content creator and businesswoman post-royalty. But the reception? Well, let's just say the royal fairy dust has worn off. Critics and audiences have been roasting these projects for being vapid, self-absorbed, and, frankly, flops. It's a real-time downfall. The Duchess, who once had the world's attention, is now struggling to convince us to care about her California girl boss saga. So, why the Petty Princess? Throughout this journey, Meghan has shown a penchant for pettiness and self-focus that even her royal in-laws would raise an eyebrow at. Want an example? In her Netflix series, when her friend Mindy Kaling casually calls her Meghan Markle, our Duchess can't resist correcting her, "You know I'm Sussex now." That's right, she's that petty about her title, even with a close friend, making sure everyone knows she's moved up from mere commoner name to brand Sussex. This little moment says a lot about where her head's at. Image, image, image. And it perfectly tees up what we'll see in each act. Meghan's over-the-top need to center herself, even as the world rolls its eyes. We'll guide you through Meghan's recent misadventures, from her tone-deaf, happiest ever speech to the botched business brands. Each act will peel back the layers of buzzwords, contradictions, and yes, direct quotes from Meghan herself, because sometimes her own words roast her better than anything else. Get comfy, because it's going to get delightfully shady. Cue the regal fanfare with a sarcastic twist. Happiest I've ever been. Delusion or determination? Let's start at that Time100 summit moment, since it captures the disconnect between Meghan's self-image and reality. On April 23rd, 2025, Meghan sat on stage in New York with Time CEO Jessica Sibley and served up a soundbite that launched 1,000 headlines. "A confession I can share with you today," she announced, "is that I'm the happiest I've ever been." She practically glowed while saying it, which, to be fair, is on brand for a Duchess-turned-wellness guru radiating gratitude. She credited Harry and the kids for her joy, painting a picture of domestic bliss. Nothing wrong with that, except it sounded almost too blissful, given the storm of bad press surrounding her endeavors. Was this genuine happiness or PR polish amid a crisis? Meghan didn't stop at that Hallmark-worthy confession. She also used the Time100 platform to drop some wisdom on mental health and dealing with critics. Citing a Tina Fey joke, she reminded us that if you ever feel good about yourself, the internet can fix that by showing you plenty of haters. True enough, Meg. She then revealed her personal strategy. "I've made a very, very conscious effort to create boundaries for myself. When I am able to not even just tune out whatever that noise is, but to really not give it any credence, that has become so much a part of my day-to-day life." In plain English, Meghan ignores the negative chatter about her. She literally tunes out the noise. Maybe that's how she keeps that serene smile plastered on while her projects tank. She's not reading the reviews. It's a classic wellness guru move. Manifest positivity and pretend the negativity doesn't exist. But here's the rub. By plugging her ears to the noise, Meghan might also be blinding herself to legitimate feedback. She even admitted this coping strategy leaves her late on the boat when it comes to current events. In her words, news only reaches her on a need-to-know basis so she can keep her peace and focus on her projects. That's one way to live in a bubble. So, while she's publicly proclaiming how at peace and fulfilled she is, outside that bubble, her ventures are getting skewered left and right. The contrast is almost comedic. Meghan is on stage saying how grateful she feels, seemingly oblivious to the firestorm of criticism surrounding her latest Netflix series and the ridicule of her new podcast. If ignorance is bliss, then maybe she truly is as happy as she claims because she's consciously ignoring all evidence to the contrary. Let's be fair for a second. It's not a crime to be optimistic and protect your mental health. Good for Meghan for not letting trolls get her down. But when you're claiming victory in the midst of a very public failure, it comes off as delusion or denial. That Time100 Summit interview was meant to rebrand Meghan as a figure of resilience and entrepreneurial spirit. She even slipped in a promo for her new ventures under the guise of confessions. After the happiness line, she quipped that her other confession was hoping to get home in time for Archie to lose his first tooth. A cute mommy note reminding us she's oh so relatable. Yet, behind the scenes, the brand that Meghan was really hoping to sell us on, the Duchess of Sussex lifestyle, was on shaky ground. In the next act, we'll talk about how her grand business venture, lovingly named and renamed, went from aspirational to laughable. Spoiler, it involves jam, a word salad fiasco, and some hummingbirds. Business blunders, from word salad to as ever. Nothing screams girl boss quite like launching your own lifestyle brand, right? Meghan certainly thought so. She set out to build her post-royal business empire with a project allegedly years in the making, a wellness and lifestyle brand to pick up where her old blog The Take left off. Initially, she had a grandiose name for it, American Riviera Orchard. Yes, that was the actual name she unveiled in 2024 for her company, referencing Santa Barbara's nickname as the American Riviera. It was supposed to evoke sun-kissed California abundance. Instead, it mostly evoked confusion. American Riviera Orchard, ARO? A fruit farm? No one could tell. Meghan eventually realized it was a clunker. In fact, she outright confessed that the name turned into a word salad she didn't love. Word salad. When your own founder calls the brand name gibberish, you know it's bad. So, in early 2025, Meghan went back to the drawing board. Out went American Riviera Orchard, which, fun fact, the US Patent Office had already rejected for being primarily geographically descriptive. Translation: you can't trademark a place name just because it sounds fancy. It came a new, supposedly more meaningful name, as ever. Meghan announced the rebrand in February with much self-congratulation. Why, as ever? According to her, it's a phrase she'd been signing off her messages with for years, a personal motto. As ever essentially means, as it's always been, she explained, tying it back to her old passion for cooking, crafting, and all things domestic goddesses, which she felt she hadn't been able to share for the past few years, but now I can. How poetic. The brand, she declared, is an extension of my essence, a line she delivered unironically on her podcast, as if selling jam and tea is some kind of spiritual journey. We'll talk about that podcast soon, don't worry. To her credit, Meghan did put thought into pivoting after the ARO debacle. She admitted on Confessions of a Female Founder that partnering with Netflix changed her business plan. Frankly, I was building out a very different business plan at the outset. The reach from Netflix, coupled with my vision for the brand, felt like it was going to be a really perfect match. Netflix's marketing muscle was now part of the package. She even got advice from her friend Whitney Wolfe Herd, the Bumble founder, who told her that twists and turns like a name change are normal in business. These things can feel very big as an entrepreneur, are completely normal, Meghan said Wolfe Herd taught her, citing how Bumble originally had a different name too. Sure, Meghan, name changes happen, but usually before you announce the wrong name to the world and print it on PR materials. The way she spun it, dropping the clumsy American Riviera orchard, was all part of the plan, a savvy evolution, if you say so. Of course, the rebranding didn't instantly silence the snark. Almost as soon as Ever went live, new headaches emerged. It turns out Meghan hadn't picked such a unique name after all. There were at least 2 other small brands called As Ever who popped up on social media basically saying, excuse me, we exist. One was a New York clothing brand that noted the coincidence. Its owner diplomatically thanked folks for their concern and said he was surprised by the news of Meghan's venture, using his brand's exact name. Even the logo Meghan's team unveiled got side eyes, a crest with a palm tree and 2 hummingbirds. Observers pointed out it looked suspiciously like the coat of arms of a small town in Mallorca, Spain, so much so that the local mayor said it's a total copy, and he planned to ask Meghan to change it. You can't make this up. The mayor of a Spanish town calling out the Duchess of Sussex for ripping off their emblem. As ever, Meghan's brand rollout was chef's kiss chaotic. Let's not forget the actual products. When As Ever finally launched in April 2025, what was on offer? A line of 9 affordable home goods priced at about $14 to $28. Think small batch preserves, a pancake mix, maybe some teas. The kind of twee artisanal fare you'd find at a Montecito farmer's market. There were even those dried edible flowers she's obsessed with. Recall, this woman garnishes everything with flower petals. The media quickly noted that, yes, there will be jam in Meghan's brand. She did a cutesy Instagram video to announce the launch, featuring her and little Lilibet frolicking in a field. Gotta have that aspirational mom imagery. And credit where it's due, the products initially sold out in under an hour. Maybe. Of course, selling out isn't hard when you likely produced limited quantities to start, and when your friends like Kris Jenner, Zoe Saldana, and fashionista pals are plastering their gifted PR boxes all over Instagram with praise. Still, Meghan touted it as a triumph, thanking Netflix execs for making As Ever a success, and noting her team was working daily with Netflix consumer product folks to turn the show and brand into really good products like Bridgerton. Yes, she favorably compared her jam to the merchandising powerhouse of Bridgerton. Delusion? Party of one? Despite the rosy launch, the brand's foundation is shaky. Meghan herself described how messy the process was. Last year, I had thought, American Riviera, that sounded like such a great name, but it limited me. Then Netflix came on. I've been waiting for a moment to share a name I secured in 2022. It's called As Ever. In other words, I had a cool idea, it flopped, big partner bailed me out, and I pulled a plan B from my back pocket. Hardly a story of entrepreneurial genius, more like privilege and connections smoothing over missteps. One of Meghan's own stylists, Katie Lee, came on a podcast and got Meghan to admit the initial name was a bust. Maybe have the orchard be really small, Meghan says she thought, but when that's not feasible, the name suddenly became this word salad. I didn't love that so much. You don't say! Calling your own brand concept word salad is peak self-own. At the end of the day, what is as ever? According to Meghan, it's the physical extension of her lifestyle. The same lifestyle she's selling on Netflix. And that brings us to the next act, because As Ever was launched hand in hand with a certain Netflix series intended to promote this whole endeavor. Unfortunately for Meghan, that show became a punchline faster than you can say organic honey. When a brand's TV infomercial bombs, it doesn't bode well for the brand. So let's dive into With Love, Meghan, the Netflix show that had critics cringing and subscribers wondering, why on earth was this made? Netflix nightmare, With Love, Meghan, or Without Substance. Picture this. Netflix gives Harry and Meghan a multi-million-dollar deal, expecting the next big thing in streaming. Serious documentaries, inspiring content. And what do they get in 2025? With Love, Meghan, an 8-part lifestyle show where the Duchess of Sussex putters around her $14 million mansion in Montecito doing arts and crafts, cooking, and condescendingly telling us how to live our best lives. It's as if someone crossed Martha Stewart with a Hallmark movie and accidentally left out the expertise and charm. The Guardian's reviewer didn't mince words, calling it a tone-deaf lifestyle show that vibrates with vacuous joylessness. Ouch! They slapped it with a 1-star review, branding it toe-curlingly unlovable TV. And that was one of the nicer takes compared to others in the UK press. Basically, critics on both sides of the pond lined up to take a whack at Meghan's homemade lifestyle cream puff. So what made With Love, Meghan so mockable? For starters, the sheer lack of self-awareness on display. The show has zero irony. It's Meghan endlessly and earnestly preaching domestic zen as if oblivious to how privileged and out of touch it all looks. As one critic wryly noted, it's Meghan joylessly filling kids' party bags with seeds, when perhaps viewers were hoping for, some real content. Episode after episode, she invites a friend or expert over to do simple tasks. Make a cake, arrange flowers, tend to beehives, etc., all while exchanging feel-good platitudes. She opens the series literally whispering to her honeybees in a sanctimonious tone, "I'm trying to stay in the calm of it because it's beautiful to be disconnected." Yes, Meghan communes with bees about mindfulness. It begins with bees because, of course, bees are aspirational signifiers of the good life in Meghanland. They make the honey for her tea and symbolize, I kid you not, doing things that scare you, as she's keen to point out. She even trots out a cheesy slogan. She has good vibes for good hives, like she just invented ethical beekeeping. You can practically hear viewers' eyes rolling. Every frame of the show is meticulously staged to make Meghan look like the Earth Mother lifestyle guru she desperately wants to be. Her kitchen is immaculate, the garden is out of a luxury catalog, and she wafts around in designer casual wear with a permanently serene smile. There's a montage of her making a beautiful on the inside cake, apparently a Victoria sponge cake with a fancy name. Assembling a giant crudité platter, because her family just loves vegetables, did you know? And sprinkling dried flowers on everything. Creating moments is her jam, one reviewer quipped. And funny enough, jam, the normal sugary kind, is not her jam because Meghan insists on healthier, less sweet preserves. See, she's all about elevating the mundane. Why simply host a picnic when you can craft an experiential moment with coordinated throw pillows and hand-picked wildflowers? The show is overflowing with these tidbits that are supposed to be charming but come off as cloying. we learn, for instance, that Meghan zests lemon with gusto, labels her mason jars with Meg's personal touch, her calligraphy skills did get a workout, and makes a point of always leaving the lemon leaves on when she picks them, because aesthetics. It's all style, no substance. Even Meghan's friends on the show seem a bit dazed by the over-the-top vibe. Poor Mindy Kaling, invited to a kids' garden party episode, tries to crack jokes but finds little to work with in the rare field atmosphere. At one point, Mindy watches Meghan sprinkling yet more edible flowers and blurts out, "What are you, Tinkerbell?" That might be the most genuine laugh the series produced, and it came at Meghan's expense, comparing her to a fairy dumping pixie dust. It's funny because it's true. She was endlessly scattering flower petals like some kind of well-being sprite. Meghan's response, of course, is to giggle and carry on. Tinkerbell is not offended. She's too busy being in control. In fact, one thing that becomes clear is that everything revolves around Meghan's preferences. She refers to Prince Harry throughout as "my husband who loves her cooking." He dutifully pops in the finale to taste her food and be the supportive spouse. She name-drops celebrity pals, "my email pen pal Mindy," etc., to remind us how well-connected she is. And she makes sure to insert her personal narratives at every turn, like telling the audience not everyone has a garden like hers. No kidding. But I fully recognize that. I didn't grow up with a garden like this, but go to a farmer's market and you can find something. In other words, I acknowledge I'm privileged, just do a simpler version of what I do. Thanks, Meg. It's not that making jam and arranging flowers are offensive activities. In fact, escapist lifestyle content can be enjoyable when done with a bit of humor or actual expert insight. The real crime of With Love Meghan is how joyless and self-important it is about trivial things. The Guardian summed it up perfectly. It's not the activities themselves that are offensive, it's the lack of humor, irony, self-awareness, and apprehension of the reality of this deeply unequal and apocalyptic world that makes With Love Meghan so unlovable in the end. Exactly. Meghan is earnestly play-acting, suburban hostess, while the world burns, figuratively and literally. The show's production was even delayed by real California wildfires at one point. There's no wink to the camera, no acknowledgement of how absurd it is for a duchess to show us how to make ladybug crostini. We're just expected to bask in her curated vibe. That tone deafness is why critics' knives came out. Watching With Love Meghan requires either adoration for Meghan or a high tolerance for cringe. Many found it had negative entertainment value, more like an infomercial for brand Meghan. As one reviewer joked, it left us with useless information that will take a long time to remove from your head. I, for one, will forever know that Meghan's dog is named Guy and that Harry solves everything at the table. Did I need to know that? No. Am I better for it? Also no. Despite the drubbing, Meghan triumphantly announced Season 2 is coming. Yes, Netflix, perhaps out of obligation or optimism, renewed the show almost immediately. The public reaction was basically, huh? According to The Guardian, just 3 days after premiere, amid brutal reviews, Meghan took to Instagram dancing in a baseball cap that read, "Let us remain calm," a cringy salad pun because she can't resist, apparently, and proclaimed, "Let us remain calm, or not, because I'm thrilled to share that Season 2 of With Love Meghan is coming." That caption alone, "Let us remain calm," tells you exactly the level of sophistication we're dealing with. Critics call her show narcissistic and vapid, and her response is to literally wear a slogan hat and cheerfully announced more of the same. Talk about doubling down. Netflix chimed in with a straight face that there's more joy to be shared. More joy? Or more smug, syrupy content? Depends on who you ask. One can only imagine Netflix executives gritting their teeth hoping that maybe hate watching will drive viewership. For Meghan though, the show's renewal was spun as validation. In her mind, season 2 is proof that her happiest ever life is marketable. Never mind the scathing headlines like "Kiss the Netflix deal goodbye," which warned that this gormless lifestyle filler might be the Sussexes' last chance before Netflix gives up on them. Meghan's not listening. Remember, she tunes out the noise. As far as she's concerned, she's a successful producer of a hit feel-good series. The delusion is strong with this one. But hey, if Netflix wants to burn money on another round of Meghan's rustic cosplay, who are we to stop them? It will at least give us more roast material. And speaking of roast material, nothing provided more of that recently than Meghan's foray into podcasting. If you thought Archetypes had its cringe moments, wait until you hear what people are saying about Confessions of a Female Founder. We've watched her go from a duchess hailed for breaking the mold to a content creator who can't get out of her own way or out of her own head. The pettiness lies in how consumed she is with her narrative and status. Don't you dare call her just Meghan Markle. It's Duchess Meghan, thank you very much. The vapidness lies in the substance of her output, or lack thereof, all glossy surface with little real beneath. She says she's the happiest ever while seemingly living in a feedback vacuum. She preaches female empowerment while exemplifying how not to connect with your audience. Each venture, the collapsing brand, the panned Netflix show, the underwhelming podcast has been framed around promoting brand Meghan rather than delivering genuine value to consumers or viewers, and people can sense that. Audiences today have finely tuned BS meters, and they know when they're being sold a person instead of a product. In real time, we are witnessing the downfall of Meghan's post-royal media empire, not necessarily in terms of financial ruin. She and Harry have plenty of cushion, but in cultural relevance and credibility. The more she doubles down on me content, the more she opens herself up to ridicule. It didn't have to be this way. She has a genuine charitable streak and interest in causes that could have been her focus. But instead of substance, she chose self-aggrandizement, and the result is playing out like a reality TV parody. The Duchess wanted to be a Hollywood power player and lifestyle mogul, but right now she's looking more like a parody of an influencer. The kind who says, live, laugh, love into a $100 million void. However, let it not be said that Meghan Markle doesn't have a loyal fandom or that she's incapable of a pivot. Maybe she'll take some of this feedback if she ever stops tuning it out and make changes. Season 2 of With Love Meghan could surprise us with a bit of self-awareness or humor. Future podcast episodes might actually draw out concrete business tips from guests and hush the incessant affirmations. Perhaps as ever's next product line will be a humble pie. She could certainly use a slice. But until then, we'll be here, cheekily keeping tabs on the petty princess and her adventures in brand building. After all, as frustrating as she can be, there's something endlessly fascinating about watching someone so publicly insist on their own grandeur, while the world ever so politely points and laughs. Or not so politely. It's the stuff of a royal tragicomedy, and in 2025, it's streaming everywhere. If you enjoyed the saga of Sunshine and Shade, please give this video a thumbs up. Comment below with your own take. Do you think Meghan's truly happy in her bubble, or is she headed for a wake-up call? What was your favorite ridiculous Meghan quote from today's roast? And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more royally candid commentary. Go ahead and tap that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. We promise to keep it real. No vapid self-love lessons here. Scout's honor. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.